Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining me once again on this Reverse Recruitment 0% Growths LTC. We have a returning guest, but first, it's time to introduce the Grail Mercenaries. Some of you already figured it out, but Ike's replacement is the hero Ike. Turns out, if you remove the Herons and the Black Knight from the equation, Ike is the pivot point of the whole cast. This simplifies many things long term, and it guarantees a great stat line for our commander. 24 strength and 23 speed do a lot of work. Additionally, Ike being himself allows us to benefit from his 3 authority stars. All units under his command give 5 hit and avoid per star. In Soren's place we have Danved the Halberdier. Most of his stats don't jump out at you, but 12 Constitution is great. This makes him one of 3 units in this current army that can shove Ike, but one of the others has to transform to do it. Other than that, he has competent accuracy, and his fire affinity is useful offensively. As he attacks this Swordmaster, he will reveal another enemy for Ike. Next on our roster is the Lance Paladin Joffrey. His stat line is pretty respectable, and he's a level 12 unit with the innate Paragon skill. This makes him a good promotion candidate. After 9 levels, he will promote to tier 3 and gain a lot of stats. For now, he's a mobile bruiser that can carry his allies around if necessary. Calill the Fire Sage is our best combat unit. He combines high offenses, high accuracy, high avoid, and reliable 1-2 range access into one big first-rate inferno. Even better, she joins just 5 levels away from promotion and can equip the Paragon skill from another one of our units. Her one big weakness is that her mobility is subpar, but that's what friends are for. Alright, let's play a game. Pause the video and see if you can spot what's weird here. All done? Well, if your answer is, his level went down but his HP, strength, and magic went up, you win. I didn't notice this until I went back to script this video, so keep an eye out for any time Makalov the Blade Paladin does any mission-critical combat. You can throw your pitchforks at me then. Heron the Axe Paladin is about as well-rounded as they come. He's not going to one-round enemies at this stage in the game, but he has solid bulk and all the mobility benefits of the Paladin class. He can also wield hammers, which is a niche that pops up occasionally. Gamble is a skill that we will never use, but we can't buy or sell items in this chapter, so we can just ignore it for now. Heron will take and drop Calill onto a thicket to do some enemy phase work. I've been looking forward to this introduction for a long time. Feast your eyes on Big Tiger Mordecai, who has a transformed defense stat of 40. His attack power is also massive, but the only enemies he can double are a few generals in early Part 3. He won't be mowing down armies, but he can tank hits and shove allies very effectively, even without transforming. Even while I was recording gameplay, I got a little excited about 40 defense. This is Vanilla Heather. She was a level 7 rogue before, and she's a level 7 rogue now. As you might expect, her combat abilities are limited, but the utility of her class earns a deployment slot on several maps. Of particular note is her pass skill, which we will put to use in the next chapter. Incidentally, this sheds light on the fact that Mia should not have been leveled down at all. Our second Laguz ally is Lethe. Lethe? I've never been sure. She is a very fast cat that can one-round weaker enemies like the mages, even if her transformation gauge requires a bit of attention. Her Heaven affinity provides a large hit boost, and will have time to develop a support relationship that puts it to good use. Lucia the Swordmaster matches Ike's 23 speed, but that's about all she has going for her. Her innate Parity skill is better used on other units, and she has no standout utility. She's by no means useless, but if she's on the map, there probably isn't much competition for deployment slots. In this chapter, we have no preparations menu, and every unit is assigned a starting position. This is Vanilla Astrid. Almost. She only levels down once compared to her vanilla self, and since none of her growth rates are 100%, none of her stats change. In a growth playthrough, her increased availability and innate Paragon access set her up to improve rapidly, but here she's basically just a skill donor and a squishy taxi. That was a lot of new units. It's finally time to talk about what they're up to. Ike and his squad are supporting an army of Laguz that are rushing to conquer this fort. In gameplay terms, the victory condition is to have Morim, the green-colored tiger, arrive at a tile in the top right. Unusually, this puts our victory in the hands of units we cannot control. Our best bet is to rush towards the center of the map and remove enemies from key defensive lines. This will speed up the progress of our Laguz allies, but only if they do well for themselves in the first 2 turns. The units in the Laguz army move in a set order. First up is Morim, who basically always moves to that spot. After that, 5 more cats and tigers take their turns. Nefany the Halberdier, the only green unit who can attack at range, follows them. More generic Laguz bring up the rear. I suspect there may have been a bug in my patch, because the cats and tigers here are not moving at full speed, unlike the Bayark units. This critical hit by Nefany is not required. The next tiger would have finished him off anyway. As turns pass, Laguz reinforcements will show up in this area. They will end up moving before Morim, but they don't accomplish anything at the pace we set. And that concludes the scripted part of this commentary. Our returning guest, would you like to say hello?
Well, yes, of course. It's me, Sal again, and every single video I see more and more mistakes that crop up, and it's giving me the incentive to actually want to remake Reverse Recruitment in the end. But first we'll go through this entire playthrough.
Yeah, so that's exciting for those of you who want to play this in the future. For now, we're just reviewing some green unit stats of later recruitable units. Notably, Morim not as tanky as Mordecai, so that's fun.
He is a very good unit. I don't know if this is going to come up later on in the video, in a new episode, but there are actually quite a few differences between cutscenes that feature him and Skrimir in the vanilla playthrough.
Oh yeah, because Skrimir, he functions in the story a lot.
Yes, he actually does. And 3-4 is one that if you're playing through this yourself, I would actually recommend watching the entire script.
Yeah, there's a scripted combat there, and the units have changed, so it'll be fun. So
for now...
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, for now, of course, it's mainly just progressing forward. Calill is absolutely amazing. The Fire Emblem subreddit Discord server actually really likes Calill in Reverse Recruitment. It's the only good mage in Radiant Dawn, they say.
Yeah, it turns out that magic itself isn't bad. It's just that none of the mages are that good in vanilla.
Yeah, the availability, of course, really hampers them, and units actually do have resistance stats, so it's not as true damage as most games.
Mm-hmm. So that Swordmaster that we're awakening doesn't move, funnily enough. There's no, like, rhyme or reason to it, it's just true. Later on, there will be a lot more enemies that don't move, and it makes more sense because they're designed to block Laguz enemies.
Yes, for now, Shurur actually found this one in his own LTC, so it was graciously adapted by Flashing Fire.
Yeah, and it was probably, like, known beforehand, but since Shurur's clear was the reference I was going off of for the most part, he's the one I learned it from.
No, as we're talking about Shurur, he was, of course, quite sad to see that Mia wasn't recruited. However, Mia's recruitment does mean that she is now MIA, so that's fitting.
You did it. Congratulations. Get out.
I will show myself the door.
So yeah, we actually are getting to one of the more interesting things that the green units do. So I alluded earlier to the fact that Nephenee has 2 range. And would you look at that, there's a weakened halberdier here.
And there's a beautiful spot for Nephenee to actually attack.
Yeah. That is RNG, whether or not the green units kind of set that up for her. So you kind of just have to play the map and see if they cooperate or not.
Yes, as you alluded to before, the Warrim who attacks and always goes pretty much to the west side of that first enemy group. It might happen that he doesn't do that if a critical hit happens or anything like that. So a theoretical 5-turn is possible, but you're at the whims and mercy of the RNG gods or the NPCs.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna sit here bringing in other phase crit like that. So Lethe is pretty good at taking out these mages. They're pretty squishy. And because Laguz have a lot of vision, she also reveals the next mage, who Mordecai just straight up one-shots. It's great. I love him so much.
It's just a visual bug, of course, that Dolphin has with not revealing the tiles as being lit up. It always happens slightly with a delay.
Yeah, if you noticed a little jump in the footage there, it's because I edited out some, like, thinking that was happening for too long for my comfort. So I do that occasionally. Yeah, this is interesting because I risk this for kind of no reason. Like, it's no reason in retrospect, but the reason at the time was I was trying to manage Calill experience to promote her quickly, and she's the one that is eventually killing that general. So here I feed her the kill. In retrospect, I don't think it's necessary. I think her EXP gain is totally fine, and you could have her attack first and have Kieran mop up afterward.
Yes, it's the safer play, but that, of course, you didn't really know at the time probably if you were going to be really stringent with XP management.
Right. Yeah, this guy doesn't actually move, but we just need to get him out of the way.
It has, however, been a unit that has killed many a run, or rather forced a reset with people that haven't seen the Horse Slayer park their horses there.
Horse Slayer in the fog, classic.
No, and as you stated earlier with Makalov, there have been many mistakes that have cropped up that I have since noticed. It's on one hand kind of, it annoys me a little bit, but I was just working with limited tools, and since it's been years since I've actually touched reverse recruitment, there might also just have been conscious decision making, there may have been conscious decisions that I just made with an idea in mind that I now do not know the entire details of anymore. So there might have just been choices that look perplexing, and they are perplexing to me now as well.
Yeah, it does happen to be the case that a lot of the errors benefit me because they make the units stronger. Mordecai would have lived both mages, by the way. He's fine.
And he takes a whopping 0 damage from pretty much everything else. Yeah,
I don't think there's an enemy on this map that can damage him with a physical weapon. Because you'll see in a minute the axe generals can't do it, and those enemies are pretty high damage in the scale of things.
Well, I guess I'll just have to give the boss a Beastfo skill as a personal skill next mod.
And he has a crossbow too. That would be devilish.
Yes. You just have Skrymir park himself in front, or Morim park himself in front of the boss, and then suddenly he gets one shot. Classic gameplay.
Yeah. Don't do that. Okay. So we achieved kind of a major objective there with Mordecai clearing out that axe general. So now the line is broken and the other units can surge through. Here, this actually takes a bit of thought too. So Calill, we have no healer in this army, so we have to rely on our healing items for quite a while. First I needed to get vision of those mages again because I moved Mordecai too early. This mage on the right doesn't move, so that's why we picked the one on the top to kill. And after that, none of the enemies on screen right now actually move. So we can move about pretty safely. We do need Calill to perform some enemy phase work this turn, because there are a bunch of enemies in the fog to the right that we want to lure out. And she is our best combat unit.
Yes, by far.
Yeah, by far. Ike has some pretty respectable combat himself, but he has one less speed, which does matter, and he has limited access to 1-2 range for now.
It's also worth noting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. It's also worth noting that Calill currently is in neutral biorhythm. She is going to go into bad, maybe even worse biorhythm the following turns. So her enemy phase combat is going to be slightly unreliable, but she only needs to dodge like 1 or 2 attacks, which have 40% displayed hit or so. So it's easily made. It's not really rigging anything, but yeah, there is a slight chance of that.
Yeah, it's probably closer to displayed 30s. I didn't go in and check. But yeah, there is a little bit of unreliability in this enemy phase combat coming up. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I had a thought. It's just that we have no wind ninjas now for Ike, so woohoo.
I mean, it's for Ike. It doesn't really matter. He has to keep his current stats. Luckily, this isn't negative % growths where you can't really use him at all.
Gosh. I haven't even watched negative growth. I don't know how they deal with the Black Knight. I guess it's just that they never use Ike and then they treat it like 0% or something.
There is a playthrough made with the original, with the vanilla game negative %. I haven't watched much of it, but I believe all stat boosters, including energy drops, go to Ike pretty much.
That makes a certain amount of sense.
Yeah, of course, due to the early game in the Radiant Dawn, with the normal Draco Shield and energy drop, those don't exist here, so it might actually be a lot more difficult in reverse.
We'll see. So here's Calill going to work. She's dodged 1 attack so far out of 3. And then I think she has this enemy, and I think that's it. I think she only has to dodge 1, because yeah, this guy goes for Kieran. And that's the end. So we're getting some nice EXP on Calill. She has Paragon, remember. She has a level under her belt, and she only needs 5 to promote. And that last level can come through bonus experience. Here's Morim being pretty chill and taking out a full health general. Thanks, Morim.
Yeah, even though he doesn't have Mordecai's defense stat, he is still a very powerful unit.
Yeah, and he's slightly faster. He has 2 more speed when transformed. And Mordecai ends up falling just shy of a lot of doubling thresholds outside of a couple of generals. So it's a shame because his attack power is really high. If he could double more things, he'd be really useful in combat. But alas.
This is pretty much the extent of Nephene's 2 range. That first combat that she had was really pivotal, but from here on out she's going to mostly get left in the dust due to her terrain penalties and movement being lower than most Laguz.
Yeah, we're almost out of the woods. What is this, turn 5? Yeah, turn 5. So there's not a whole lot left to do. Obviously, Mordecai is not in range of the seize point this turn, so we have at least 1 more turn to go. And at this point, there aren't that many enemies left on the map. It's just a matter of making sure to clear them efficiently.
Yeah, this was very important. Mordecai is going to need to fulfill his role transformed next turn, so the Laguz stone there is very useful, and his vision range also grants vision of the 2 generals. Yeah.
I think we had alternatives if we wanted to spot out the generals, but it is nice to just get him in there and get a good idea of what's going on. Let's see, what is actually next here? I guess we have the 1 halberdier. Oh yeah, Heather has been shoving Calill quite a bit. Kind of nifty. So Calill can 1 round both of these generals, but 21 plus 17 is higher than her max HP, so we don't want to risk death from getting hit twice. So we will just park her in range of the 1 general with the short spear and heal her up.
Obviously, you'll just dodge, that'll be fine.
Obviously. Okay,
No,
we've got...
otherwise...
Oh,
Yeah,
your turn,
sorry,
your
go
turn.
ahead.
Oh, well, okay, my turn, sure. We have vision of the boss now. We'll need to defeat him before Marim can seize. Marim likes to attack more than he likes to seize, or arrive, excuse me. So we'll have to kind of babysit him and make sure he's not distracted in the upcoming turn.
No, there have actually been situations where I have, in a normal playthrough, left a general, the stationary Horslayer general, for example, standing, and just charged forward, and then suddenly Skrymir just decided to pivot left and also run to the left of the general.
No, come
And
back.
then he goes the entire wrong way.
Red light, red light.
No, other than that, it's been really cool. Like, once again, just many thanks to Flashing Fire for putting in the effort to play through this. Like, it's been more than a year in the making, as he stated before, and it's just really cool to see. I like being on this and being able to talk about this again. It really gets me motivated as well. I originally started this as a thing to try and learn hex coding, because I really wanted to start modding Radiant Dawn as the GBA games were modded at the time, which they have improved massively as well, of course, over the years. And this seemed like an exercise that is very repetitive, like changing the units and swapping them around. Oh, she still got hit.
Yep.
But yeah, even with the archaic tools of the day, just regular hex editing and replacing the files manually, many mistakes, either due to my own incompetence or lack of knowledge, or the script files, not knowing how they work and them doing stuff to the units that I actually had no idea that happened internally. Many mistakes have cropped up. But in the end, now with the new tools like Paragon and the Exalt script editor, we're actually making great progress into modding Radiant Dawn. Like a small thing that has been worked on now by me and two other people independently actually is a Fey-based cooldown system for skills, for example.
Snap.
So there's going to be big plans for Radiant Dawn, and things like reverse recruitment is just a start.
Yeah, it's super valuable to have you here, have your perspective and your game knowledge. I'm pretty sure, yeah, so I battle save here because the plan is to have Mordecai weaken the boss so that Calill can kill him and get the XP. So we're not going to risk an 8% crit at this stage. We're just going to, you know, guarantee it with a battle save system. We can do that. But yeah, I certainly, like, I don't think anyone really minds the mistakes. I certainly don't mind. They happen to benefit me, of course. But, you know, it's impressive what you were able to accomplish, given your limited tools, and, like, you know, I wouldn't call it the mistakes incompetence as much as just learning how to do a whole new thing that no one else had done before. So, props.
Yeah, it was a big learning experience.
Okay, we are getting toward the end here. Again, we have to take Morim's toys away. That crit was lucky. It's not necessary. It does let Joffrey kill this bishop here. I think surrounding him is fine enough. Like, we don't have to kill the bishop as long as we kill the general and stuff like that. It is nice to have that Joffrey XP. And honestly, like, Joffrey probably could have killed the enemy that Makalov killed instead, if we don't want to rely on the... Actually, no, if Ike hadn't crit, then Joffrey would have gotten the general kill. Right. That was the plan.
And now we've routed the enemy.
We have, yeah. Secret victory. Okay.
Now, from there on out, it's Morim who has to seize. But of course, Laguz unit prioritization in the turn order is weird.
Yeah, but wait, there's more. All the reinforcements have to go first.
Oh, man. Extra long video, guys. Extra long video.
Yeah.
The gameplay you actually come to visit.
Hooray! Okay. And with that, we clear the 3- prologue in 6 turns. Thanks for sticking around.
And see you in the next one.
Yeah, join me next time for a much tighter clear. Take care, everyone.